Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wholehearted Loving. I'm Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Georgiana.
Today, we're going to be talking about boundaries, defining ourselves, defining the other, and a couple of practices that you can use to help you work with that. You can learn more about us and our program at wholeheartedloving.com, and you can find self-reflection prompts for this episode and every episode on Instagram at Wholehearted Loving. And before we get started, we are going to do one of these self-connection practices to illustrate, to connect with ourselves before we connect with each other and this podcast.
Nice. This is a practice that we've brought into lots of group work, one-on-one work, and I want to give credit where credit's due. This is a practice I learned from Irene Lyon and Elia Marak when I did their Up and Down workshop several years ago. I don't think we did it in the same way. So the first piece that I'll walk you through was what we did in our workshop. But like how I've sort of used it, how Steph and I have sort of practiced with how this ties to us getting to know ourselves better and how it creates a foundation for boundary setting. I don't believe that's the way we worked with it in that workshop. But I always like taking things that, excite me and see how I can apply them to other things that are important. So we'll walk you through it. It starts like this. Let's just find a sense of sturdiness. Whether you're sitting, I think lying down might be harder for this one, but it's doable. So if you really need to lie down, you could. You will need your hands for this, so just to have your hands free is helpful. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to place our palms together, sort of like, I don't know, how do you describe this stuff?
Prayer hands.
Prayer hands. Not praying though, but prayer hands. And you're going to let your thumbs rest on the front of your body, your sternum. Just rest gently there. When you can feel that contact, we're going to say the word me. Just be there for a breath. And then we get to take our pointy finger out. And you're going to point with your pointer finger, whichever hand you want to use, and you're going to outstretch your arm so it's straight. And you're going to point at something, point at anything, and you're going to look at it, and you're going to say you. And then we're going to come back to me, which is prayer hands, thumbs gently resting on the sternum on the front of the body. And we're going to say me. And I like to just feel my hands and be here for a breath. And then we get to transition back to you. And this time, like last time I used my right hand and right arm, this time I'm using my left. It really doesn't matter. I'm pointing to something else that isn't me. And we say you. And take a moment with that thing. And then we'll come back to me. I naturally drop my head and my gaze when I do me, but you can do whatever feels good for you. And then we'll point to something else, pointing to a fly on the window, and say you. You. And now we're going to add to it. We're going to add a third piece to it. So it sounds like this. We're going to start back at me. Me. We're going to go to you. And just looking at the thing. You. And then this is actually, I think, my favorite part. You're going to open up your arms super wide in either direction. And you're going to choose which hand's direction you want to look towards. And you're going to say, over there. You're going to look at the farthest thing that hand is pointing to, over there. And then you're going to come back to me. Take a moment there. You're going to find you. Right now, you is a lamp. And then you're going to open up again. And follow the hand and look as far as you can. And say, over there. Look at the thing. Look at what's over there. And we'll do that one more time together. Me, you, over there. You can make over there a little dramatic and fun too if you want. And then we'll just come back to sitting or standing or whatever you're doing or whatever feels comfortable, and just have a notice of what that was like to do. And I'll check in with Steph. I'm curious, how was that for you?
Was that for me? I'm struggling to find the word. It's very distinguishing, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
It really delineates me. One of the questions we have about boundaries is, where do I end and you begin? And this process really simply clarifies that. It connects me with self, and it makes space between me and you and over there.
Mm-hmm. Right? So you're starting to be able to see them as separate entities, right? Or me is a separate entity, you is a separate entity, whether that's a plant or a person. And then the over there is there's this huge space in between us and around us. Right? That's not either of us. It's something beyond. And I'm curious, when you first did this, I don't know if you remember the exact time, but maybe you remember whether you thought it was hokey and dumb, or whether right away you're like, oh, there's something in here for me, and how this has supported you in building a foundation for being able to set healthy boundaries.
Of course, I thought it was hokey and dumb. I thought that everything we do today was hokey and dumb. And I didn't understand at all. I just went through the motions. I remember feeling so confused about what boundaries were and wanting to be really prescriptive and rigid about that. I think probably because I had such porous, pliable boundaries before I swung my pendulum towards rigidity. But when I was able to start consciously using this practice to kind of sink more into my body instead of make rules for myself and other people, it started to be helpful in a really self-honoring and sort of space and time growing kind of a way. I remember using this in the hot tub at the community center pool. I'm just sitting there and feeling my feet on the tiles, and I wasn't pointing. I was just thinking and feeling me, and then looking at other people, going, you. And I think I was very warm that day in the hot tub, but also it was very settling. Really, this feeling of making time and space, and sort of an inner quietude. One of the things we've talked a lot about is having our fingers. So I'm doing kind of, what is this, jazz fingers towards myself. And then I'm extending them out and putting them into your business.
Yes.
Right? It slows down that process of wanting to get into other people's business and keeps me more centered in myself.
Right. Yeah. So when we're at me, the hands can sort of symbolize I'm bringing my energy towards myself. How do I feel? What do I need? What do I desire? And then when we point away, we're shifting our energy to I want to see you. How do you feel? What do you need? What do you desire? And recognizing that we're two distinct entities, two different people, and we might feel and need and desire very different things. And it doesn't make either one of us wrong. Right? And it's also a reminder of when am I too much in someone else's business, just orienting to somebody else too much, giving them what they need all the time, wondering what they need. If you've ever fallen into the trap of psychoanalyzing someone, right? That's that I'm in the you energy right now. And I've lost touch with the me energy.
Yeah.
right? And in healthy relationship, it's be able to do the dance between the two and to feel me and see you and be with you.
Totally.
Right? But I found that for me, it was easier to like learn how to do that healthy dance and care about my needs and somebody else's when I first got very clear with me. Like, oh, this is me. I think often we don't have practices for how do I just connect to me in this moment? How am I feeling? What am I needing? What do I desire? When people ask us, how to set boundaries, and when you said rigid, it reminded me of people want a script. Well, how do I set a boundary? I've never set a boundary. I've been the people pleaser. How do I tell people what's okay or what's not okay? And we try to remind people that if you take the time to be with me, with yourself, you're going to get clearer and clearer. Your body's going to give you clearer and clearer messages. You're going to be able to hear the messages clearer of how do I feel right now and what do I need? And your courage then to articulate that to a person is your boundary right there.
Yeah.
Right? There doesn't need to be a formulaic thing. It's just about discovering how you feel, what you need, and noticing, do you make it wrong that you feel that way? Do you make it wrong that you have that need? Do you assume that nobody cares? And so you keep that inside. Are you afraid to share that? That's often more the pieces that are missing when it comes to healthy boundary setting, is to know that how I feel and what I need is valid. Let me get to know what those things are moment to moment, and let me grow the courage to say that out loud.
Yeah. That's really honoring our boundary, our limitations, our desires. We often actually bypass our own boundaries, I find, and that getting our meddling fingers into other people, we're often trying to manage our own anxiety by externalizing something and seeking change from an external source, or looking to get involved in changing what somebody is doing or thinking or saying to manage our own sense of self in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I watched you, it reminded me of, like, say you do share a boundary. We've had people ask us this question, and the person just doesn't honor that boundary. They're either not interested or not able, not capable, whatever the reason is. And people are like, well, then what? Almost as if the intention of sharing a boundary is to get the thing you wanted the person to do.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be left with, well, what do? I can't force them to do the thing. And so for me, I see this dance of, okay, I'm with me. I got clear on how I feel, what I need. I shared it with the other person. Now I'm observing how the other person is receiving that, how they're responding to that. If they choose to collaborate with me and do what I asked for, or whatever the thing is, beautiful, great. But what if they can't or won't? And then what typically happens is we stay with we're meddling in them, and we're blaming them, and we're saying they should. Or maybe we go to the me, but we go to the me from this place of shame. Oh, I shouldn't have asked for that. Of course, I don't deserve that. Right? So the new pattern might be this. I've shared my boundary vulnerable. You know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Words don't come today. And this person can't meet me there right now. So let's bring the energy back to me. How do I take care of myself best in this moment? Once I've shared what I needed and I've received the message that this person is either not willing or not able, not capable of meeting me at that place.
Yeah.
Instead of going on this attack on that on the other person, or bringing the energy inward, but attacking ourselves of, I should never have asked, who am I to think that it's okay to ask for that or say that, feel that.
Yeah.
Totally. Right, to come back to, maybe I feel disappointed or hurt or scared that they're not willing to meet me, with that. And so what I need now is, right? So again, you're going to the, how am I feeling? What am I needing? And you might be, okay, I need to offer myself some soothing, or gosh, I'm having a hard time with that. I need to reach out to someone else who can offer that soothing.
Yeah.
Right. So when we are wanting to set a boundary, I think it's also important to grow the muscle of how do I sit with my disappointment or my hurt if someone can't or isn't willing to meet me there and to do what I ask or help me in the way that I need.
Yeah, totally. So I don't know if you've done this on purpose, but there's a huge amount of symbolism that I think we can add some focused intentionality to with these prayer hands and the thumbs touching the heart. Right and left hand, feminine and masculine energies. And I don't mean male and female. I mean the balance of up and down, left and right, in and out, light and dark, right?
Yin and yang. Yeah.
Yin and yang. Yeah, this is a balancing of our masculine, penetrating, seeking out, questing energies, and our feminine energies that are more receptive, maybe softer, and connecting that with the thumbs to our heart. This is a real balancing. So if you're adding a bit of intentionality when you do this gesture, what we're seeking to do here unconsciously, which we can make conscious, is seeking a balance in ourselves and wanting to bring some purposefulness to our receptive energies and our penetrating energies and connecting that with our heart center. And our heart, of course, contains neurological stuff going on in there. It's all really connected. And I think if we're using that gesture in an intentional way, that can bring a lot to this practice as well.
When we've shared this practice with people, they often say that, like, oh, that was actually either really soothing or really emotional to hold my hands here and just pause and say me. People have realized I don't actually pause with me very often. Right? And for people who grew up having a different language other than English as a mother tongue, we've always encouraged them, use your mother tongue, see what comes up for you. And that stirred up a lot of emotion for people, recognizing, wow, maybe in childhood there was just never a time for me. Right? There was never the spotlight on me and how I'm feeling and what I'm needing. And so if we've had that experience for whatever reason, that's going to be challenging to set boundaries in your adult life, because we hold this underlying belief that maybe I don't matter. Maybe how I feel doesn't matter. Maybe there's no time for my needs and my desires. Maybe everybody else comes first. Right? So we're recognizing in this gesturing of me and then you, and me and you. It's a dance that both of our needs matter. Right? I also like that it starts with me. Most people that have trouble, I think, setting boundaries are so focused on pleasing the other or being liked by the other that all the energy is generally focused there. Right? And so this is a very tender me energy, not a self-shaming me energy.
Or an anxious me energy. I think I remember it being quite easy for me to be being with me, but actually I'm being with my anxieties and my desires to control other people and just like quietly sitting with that for a moment. But trying to feel that balance and peace and self-connection, just making time and space with your deepest self in that moment.
I also like the me and the you, because as I point, like I'm looking at the lamp. I also see there's a space in between us. And for me, that symbolizes like it's me and it's you, and we have this energy between us, this relationship dynamic. Right? Sometimes you need to address what's in the in-between. What's in the energy in between us. Right? And I think this practice is helpful on a conscious level, but I truly believe there's something happening on a subconscious level too when you practice this. There's some wirings happening that inside is like, oh, right, we're separate. We're separate yet in relationship. Right? Yeah. And on just a body level, what I love about this is we get to practice going a bit with an inward position and then lifting the chin and lifting the gaze and opening up the arm to a U position. So if you tend to relate with feeling anxious, we're often really rigid in our posture, and we're just uber focused, either outwardly because we're hyper vigilant, or inwardly because it's just so overwhelming, right? We're in our own world. So just the change of posture of going gently inward, not staying too long. We're going to pop out. We're going to open up again to the world, and then we're going to come back. A lot of us don't have that much practice doing that dance in the body. And then you throw in opening up, the over there. Like, I love this because the reality is I spend very little time like this in my everyday life, but it feels so good. And a lot of us that have been very protected will tend to cave in forward and hold tight. And so we're opening up the body to let it know, hey, there's safety in opening up, right? I don't have to just protect by closing in all the time.
Yeah.
And we're turning the head. We turn the head to look in a way that's different from hypervigilance, right? Quickly scanning. It's a very different open up over there. What's over there? It's like this curious energy. What's over there? Which is very different from let me just scan and my neck is like on a little swivel. Is there danger here? Danger here? What about here? What about over there? Right? Comes with a very different energy.
It really does. Yeah. As you were speaking, what came up for me is a memory of being told how to stand. Stand like there's a string holding your head up, shoulders back, suck in your tummy, tuck in your butt. All of this, like, no wonder it's rigid in here. It takes a lot to relax and move my body the way that feels natural. Like, the feeling of what feels natural takes some unlearning.
Totally, right? And there's nothing wrong with straightening your spine and, standing a certain way, but it's different when it's given as an instruction, almost because if you don't, it means something's bad and something's wrong with you. You're better when you stand up tall. You're perceived as better, instead of how would it feel right now to bring a little bit of a strengthening to your spine, right? Does that feel good? Or perhaps that's not what feels good right now, right? So the straightening your back isn't the thing that's good or bad. It's like, what's the intention behind it? And must I do it? Or can I just explore whether it feels good to do that?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting foundation also for boundaries, where, if you receive those kinds of instructions as a kid, why would you know your own body? Apparently my body is your body, parent who's instructing me how to stand, how to sit. It's a very confusing foundation.
That's why I feel like when this topic comes up and we work with people, a lot of people sometimes with some sadness and confusion say, but I don't even know what I need. Like, sure, if I'm in exchange with someone who cares about what I need, and we've heard this a lot of people in relationships where the partner's saying, what do you need? Let me know. I want to support you. I want to create something healthy with you. And they're sort of just frozen and stuck. And then shortly after that comes shame. Oh, I don't even know. Right? Yeah. And so allowing this prayer position of coming into me energy be a reminder that it's okay, or it's actually essential to gift yourself time to discover who you are, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, moment to moment. How do you feel?
Yeah.
Right?
And you said that do you think this is like great to do consciously and that it has this subconscious effect too? I think it also has a far-reaching energetic effect externally. Like, we're reordering the energies and the frequencies of our lives when we do these kinds of things. And great news for those who don't know what they want. You can figure that out. There are definitely ways to approach that. The practice that we're going to do to close will help you figure that out. It'll help you figure out your yes and no's and maybes. And you can practice this with like inanimate objects or food that you're not sure if you want. And this is another one of those wonderful self-awareness accrual processes where you're building your muscles and you're gaining this information about yourself, and that unfolds so beautifully into your life and relationships.
Mm-hmm. And to wire up to hear the answers, we need to take time. Because the quick answer might come, but that might be just an autopilot heady answer, right? And we want to give ourselves the opportunity to check out whether the thing I think is a yes actually really feels like a yes, right? So what's the best way to share this stuff? Is it helpful if I walk through the three options and then the body sort of postures that sort of fit them as sort of a framework?
That sounds good.
Okay. So we're going to be exploring with three options here. It's like multiple choice. Yes, no, and like maybe. Maybe might include, I don't know, I need a little bit more time with it, right? It's unsure. So imagine if we practice with, the choices that I make in the next 5 minutes. I'm going to run through this machine that checks things out, this machine of the body, and checks things out and see what answers it spits out. If you were to do this standing, right now we're sitting, but when we walk people through this, we usually do it standing. We stand up and feel the 2 feet on the ground. And we might have, we often, I think, start with a no, actually. And 2 feet. Is that right? Do we start with a no? Can't remember.
I can't remember either.
I don't think it really matters, but you stand sturdy with your feet. We're just going to go with no for now. Think of something that's a no to you, right? You know immediately it's a no. Just notice how that feels in the body. For me, like, I don't know why I'm thinking about this. Immediately a no is eating oatmeal.
I went with spiders.
Okay. And so we might stand sort of with one foot in front of the other, sort of like, as if you're about to start a sprint or something. And you just push forward with the hands. There's energy in the palms. And you just say no. Right? And notice how that feels. Like when I think of porridge and the smell of it, oatmeal, it's a no. Like it's immediately I know this is the body posture to take. No.
Gee, would you like some porridge?
No.
Clear.
Okay. Right? So choose something that you're like a clear no on, so you know how that feels in the body. And notice the firmness or softness of your voice. But I'm thinking if it's a clear no to you, it might, your voice might match that. Notice if your voice doesn't match, because that's good information. If it's like a full body no, but you're like, no, right? Then you might notice, I might need to explore that a little bit. How come it's a full body no, but in terms of expressing it in my voice, it's meek and quiet?
Yes.
Right?
Notice in put in a little example, a little relationship, a not spider and not oatmeal example. And the example is hot man who's unreliable, who's demonstrated there's evidence that he's not a reliable person. In the past, that would have been no, or maybe, or even yes. Yes, I want this hot man. But now, over the course of this, I can really distinguish the feeling in my body if I am no way open to unreliability or untrustworthiness. So that has switched from a no, maybe, to no.
Yeah. And so this is also practice of like a no shame practice. It's just a noticing practice, right? Maybe you notice it and it surprises you. Like, why am I a maybe when it comes to someone who's totally unreliable? Like, what kind of programming or experience have you had in life that maybe you've had a whole lot of maybe it's okay, and you sort of just live with it? Maybe you notice that pattern. Wow, a lot of the things I choose in my life aren't full body yeses. They're sort of like, maybe, sort of, right? Yes would be standing. I like to stand sort of 2 feet firmly planted on the ground, about hip width apart. And then I open up my, how do you describe that? I'm just standing in that pose where your palms are open. Your arms are maybe 45 degrees, like outstretched.
Yeah.
Is there a better
Arms
way to
sort of
describe that?
gently down, open and down with
Yeah, it's
palms
like
facing
your whole
forward.
body is in this receiving energy. It's a yes. I'm open. Right? So if I stood like this, I just had this moment of standing in yes, and you put oatmeal in front of me, it would feel so wrong. Like, it doesn't feel right for me to be in this body posture when it comes to oatmeal. If you parade around a hot man who's super unreliable, I don't want to stay in this position. I want to go back into my no position. Right? That's me now. Years ago, I was like, okay, maybe come closer. Oh, I don't know, And whatever falls into your maybe category is really useful information too, right? The maybe position is standing 2 feet on the ground, similar to the yes, but it's just palms facing down. How do you describe this stuff? They're not like this, not like 90 degrees.
Yeah, arms straight out in front of you, but like 45 degrees facing downward, palms down.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know yet. I need more time. Or parts of it I like, parts of it I don't. It's, I think, really important to distinguish the difference between maybe and yes, and maybe and no. Right? Maybe doesn't need to mean yes.
Yeah. And we're learning this too, right? Like, if your life has just been full of maybes and not so muches, the
Not so
feeling,
much.
right? The feeling of a yes might be so microscopic or non-existent in your life that you need to cultivate that for yourself, and that's
You might
okay
not know
too.
it yet, right?
Yeah,
You
for
might not
sure.
know. So when you realize I don't really know, it's not clear to me, yeses and nos, then start by choosing things that you're absolutely clear on. Like, would you like to live in a home that's infested with ants?
There you go. Great examples. Good extremes to illustrate.
Right? Use the extremes, because the extremes are going to help you get to that clarity of, oh, this is what no feels like.
Yeah.
Right?
It's also, what's this bringing up for me is it's helpful to notice how your brain gets involved, right? Like, I can feel my brain going like, well, no, obviously I don't want to live in a house with ants, but like, if this and if that and, blah, 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 then maybe. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm avoiding feeling in my body.
Yeah. We've gone up to the head. Also, notice if that's a pattern for you. When really it's a simple yes or no, but we're like, well, maybe if, right? A lot of times I think we get into relationships and we stay in relationships for too long because we go down that, well, maybe if that part of them changed, or maybe if, I could hide that part of them from my family, then maybe, right? So notice, practice what's a yes, get clear on things that are not very emotionally charged first, not necessarily, relational even, with objects and things. And by relational, I mean with people, because we're obviously in relationship with everything, but, and play with that as a practice, right?
Yeah.
We would have people say, okay, well, if, I've asked my kids this, if you have a friend who's nice to you in public, but not actually very nice to you when you're together behind the scenes, what do you think about that? And my son, he was like, immediately, like his whole body was like, no, right? ask ourselves these, like, it took me to God knows how many years old I was before I was firm in my no on that. And he's like 13, or he was 13 at the time. And he's like, that's a no, Mom.
So no.
Right?
A lot of that clarity can be muddled as we get older too. Like what might have been clear when we were younger, more connected to our bodies, can get muddied. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So practice with that. See what comes up. See what that information yields for you.
Yeah. And let it be
Yeah.
simple.
When how I used this was, it was in hindsight after a relationship that wasn't actually very healthy. But I didn't notice that it wasn't very healthy at the time, or wasn't willing to face it and really feel it, is I ran through scenarios of how I was being treated. And I just presented it, like putting it through this body scan thing. And I was like, okay, in present day, in this moment, if someone presented this to me as an option, is this a yes, no, or maybe? And it was really neat to notice how many things were an absolute no that at the time they didn't register as a no. They registered as a, okay, I guess. If that's the only way I can get your love and approval, sure.
Yeah.
Right? And so what that helped with for me was so much body clarity and sturdiness of going into dating and the next relationship, of these are things I know without a doubt they are a no. I might sometimes still, because I want to be loved and accepted or whatever, like be like, oh, okay, maybe. But I can always come back to the body feeling was a no. Right? In a moment where I wasn't feeling super vulnerable, I wasn't caught up in how hot you are, and how badly I want to, be with someone, just being presented with what the offer is, it's a full body no.
Yeah.
Right?
What a
And I
gift.
think it's important to give ourselves the grace that sometimes in the heat of the moment, whatever it is, when there's other factors at play, we might forget that it was a body yes or a body no. Right? Actually, how I ended up here in this work, how we have a podcast, how I have a private practice, how, I'm doing the work that I love and feel deeply passionate about, is that I could follow the body yes. Right? And when it came time to go do the thing that would help me, I was like, well, I don't know if I want to do it now. I don't really feel like, maybe I don't feel up to it. I feel a little bit withdrawn, and maybe I shouldn't go to the event. That at one point was a full body yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sat with that and like, okay, which one is more true?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized it was a full body yes when all the fears weren't in the way.
Yeah.
I need to go. And I went to that event, and it changed everything in my life. But if I had not been aware that there was such a strong yes, I wouldn't have anything to like tether back to.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So noticing that like sometimes there was a strong body yes, and then like you said, the mind gets in the way.
Yeah.
Circumstances change a little. And sometimes a full body yes does become a full body no.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like getting to know how that shows up in your body.
Yeah. When we're hijacking
I could tell this was not a full body no when the event came around. It was well, I've sort of like been withdrawn lately. Do I really want to hang around with people, and all those kinds of excuses, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to like, what is the purpose of this event? What is this event about? And like, what is there for me?
Mm-hmm.
When I went back 6 weeks in the body memory, I'm like, 6 weeks ago, was this a full body yes?
Yeah. This is reminding me of, we had a participant once who phoned me. She knew what she wanted in a relationship. And she had gone on a date with this guy. and they had either kissed or had sex or something that had hijacked her system, right? Her hormones were now in charge. Her monkey mind was in charge, and her body awareness was confused in that moment. But she knew that that's what was going on, and she just kind of wanted some support with that. So we decided that her mind was like a hotel lobby, and like the concierge who was there for the next few days was not to be trusted, and to reconnect with that body awareness while letting the mind do its thing and being compassionate on the way. But we can definitely hijack ourselves. Our minds can hijack our body awareness, which really is where the deepest wisdom for us resides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great example. And it's like bringing compassion to ourselves when that happens. Mm-hmm. Right? Even if she would have pursued more connection with this person and it wasn't in alignment with her full body no that she once was clear about, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. You're not bad. You're not messed up. It's just in that moment, other needs became a priority. And now I have the awareness. I'm reconnected back to, that's a no.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It took me a long time to move on from a relationship that was just in and out and all over the place. And I remember feeling such a pull, like everything that reminded me of this person or a relationship, I'm like, I got to call. I got to text. I got to, it must mean we're meant for each other. And each time I was disconnected from how yucky it felt in the body after that initial high of connection. And I did that multiple times, like many times, until that body no got stronger and stronger. And I could act on it sooner. Right? And, when I did reach out, I didn't shame myself for it. I'm like, I wanted connection. I wanted whatever. I wanted to relive a moment. But what I did do was I said to myself, pay attention to how you feel today and in the next 3 days. And there was the gold. Because without fail, every time by day 3, I was like, this feels horrible. I hate this feeling. This is so familiar in this dynamic. And so when it would happen again and I would feel that pull to reach out, I would remind myself, how does that feel on day 3? Do you want more of that feeling in your life? And I'm like, no, I don't.
Such good insight.
It wasn't easy, but it was using the body to help me make choices instead of like, you shouldn't call him anymore. Like, you just look desperate, whatever. Yeah. Right? Those are just heady things, but the body knew that is not going to feel good doing that again.
Feel good. And the body also knew that it wanted love and connection, right?
Yeah.
And we learn to discern where that feels like a yes and where it feels like a no.
Mm-hmm. Right? And so I learned that if right now I need connection and love and to feel chosen, there's much better sources of that are more of a yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
More consistent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yay. I'm excited for everyone to feel these things in their own bodies.
Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Just practice. Yes, no, maybe.
Yeah.
And see. Right? I'm looking at my bed right now, like all the sheets are off because things are in the laundry. And I asked myself, do you want to make the bed? And there was a little bit of murkiness at first. And then it was yes. Like it's going to feel really nice when it's made. Yes. The answer is yes. But normally, I think most of us are like, oh, crap, I got to make the bed and it's a pile of mess right now. And I don't want to make the bed and I should make the bed. And all this energy for what?
Indeed. Yeah. Yeah. When I'm closest to myself, I want to make the bed.
Right? And then what's going to happen is by the time we wrap up this podcast and I need to be somewhere else, all the reasons and excuses will be like, oh, don't make the bed now. You don't need to make the bed. It'll be fine. Whatever. Who cares if it's a pile of mess? But if I remember, oh, the body feel it was like such a big yes, then I may be more willing to follow that lead and do that thing that I'm also very capable of convincing myself not to do.
Well, there's a difference between having the bed be made and you making the bed. Is it more of a body yes for you to make the bed or for someone else to make the bed for you?
Well, this is good distinction. Sometimes it's a body yes for someone else to make it. Today, it feels like I want to make it. I want it to be made by the time so that when I come home, I get to look into my bedroom and I see a made bed. If I choose to let someone else make it today, it means that the next time I walk into my door, into my room, it's still going to be a heap of stuff. Yeah. That doesn't feel like a body yes.
Yay. So good to know.
So that's also discernment, right? For today, for right now, what feels like a stronger body yes.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
We're a little ways away from our closing practice in the middle of the episode. Do you want to say anything else or do anything else to close?
I think it's to have faith and trust that these little things make a difference. These little things that seem maybe unrelated to how is this all helpful with boundaries, right? How is this all helpful in getting to know myself better, or feeling sturdier in what's true for me? I just want to know now. It's the practice and just holding faith and trust that little things make a difference. Little things help you come back closer to yourself and gain more clarity over time.
They do. Another one of our boundary practices that I really like is the closing in and opening. You want to lead us through that quickly to close?
Yeah. I'll lead it with the movement and a few words. So we're just closing in, whatever that means to you. For me, it means I'm wrapping my arms around myself and I'm dropping my chin and head and my eyes are closed. And I'm going to say the words, my needs matter.
My needs matter.
And just allow yourself to feel that for a moment. And then when you're ready, we're going to open up the arms. Lift the chin, open the eyes, and we're going to say your needs matter. Allow yourself to feel that. And then when you're ready, we're going to close back in. My needs matter. My inside voice was like, oh, yes, they do. And then opening up, lifting the chin, opening the eyes, your needs matter. And then we'll close. You can keep doing that, but we'll just close and land with my needs matter. And maybe actually I lied. I like this way of, I'm just letting my hands rest gently on my lap, palms up. I'm just going to say our needs matter. Right? Just to hold space that mine matter, so do yours. Ours both matter.
Yeah. Thanks, Gigi. All right. That's it then for this week, yeah?
I think so.
Okay. Well, thank you
guys. It's a yes. It's a full
yes.
body yes.
Perfect.
That's for this week.
Thank you guys for being here. As always, please do like, follow, and subscribe. And if anything we've said here today has been helpful for you, please share with somebody that you care about. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.